But it is what it is. Well, let's get share together. That's precisely what we'll do with it. Shape shift and fluidly, we can pass this test and still in our unity, elevated through stress. Yes, MediaScope when you emotionally broke. Settle in our knowledge and conversations, go make them yours. What we run is Olympic, not your hands on the torch. Take it easy like Sundays on the porch. MediaScope when you emotionally broke. Settle in our knowledge and conversations, go make them yours. What we run is Olympic, not your hands on the torch. Take it easy like Sundays on the porch. It's up to you. You got your torch now. MediaScope. We're here for you, you, and you. We got it all. Tech, hot music. We got it all. Tech, hot music. We got it all. We got it all. Tech, pop, music. Tech, pop, music. MediaScope. Close the doors, walk across the corridor. We got something to show you. Media is our repertoire. Fed with the same news, no channel to use. Cruise control mentalities, here we offer you. We can show you on your way. The content that never stays from positive and uplifting. Once a week, the scope gifted. With the presence in your eyes, what a distraction. Beautiful to soul, and especially in action. It's here, not fashion. Came in abundance. Films like in Sundance. Tech like the pop on touch queen. You are cursed, a beast heart. You must carry, cause MCs they all vary. Some do they motivate, work for the hate. We serve a hope on a plate across different platforms. There's zero fake, hydration like crochet. Don't focus on a day, we always here for you. Don't from your emotionally broke. Settle in our knowledge and conversations, go make them yours. What we run is Olympic, not your hands on the torch. Take it easy like Sunday.
What is up, everyone? Welcome to the livest media, tech, and pop culture show in the land. That's my story, and I'm sticking to it anyway. This is MediaScope, all things media, tech, and pop culture. We're here every week around 6-ish or so, and we have a bunch of great things that we usually bring to you, usually news, but today we have a guest, and I'm excited about that. But before we do that, let me go through my spiel, huh? Don't rush me. So my name is Tachi, media professor, filmmaker, media content producer, also a journalist. Like I said, I am here every week, and there are a bunch of you that are joining us or going to be joining us on different platforms. And so let me greet you early and on time. So, but first of all, if you're watching us on YouTube, guess what? We're trying to grow the YouTube. So make sure that you like this video, that you subscribe, tell your friends about it. Why wouldn't you? You're watching it. Wouldn't they enjoy it? I think so. So make sure you do that if you're watching on YouTube. But guess what? Not everybody is watching via the tubing of the U. Some of you may be watching on Facebook. What's up, Facebook? It is so good to see you and have you here, both my personal page and also the MediaScope page. And personal page, hang tight, because you know how it is every week. The comments don't populate, so I'll have to pop over and see what it is. And if you have questions for our guest, make sure you let me know. Put it in the chat on my personal page, and I'll make sure I put it up there. Also, if you are watching on LinkedIn, what's up, LinkedIn? LinkedIn, sometimes you populate, sometimes you don't. So I'll try and check you as well. But welcome, LinkedIn, Facebook. I already said my personal page and my and the MediaScope page. What's up? Twitch. If you are watching on Twitch, what's up, Twitch? It is good to see you. Thank you for being here. And if you happen to have the good fortune to be listening to this tomorrow on Gospel 107.1 FM in Nassau, Bahamas, and the rest of the Caribbean, we wish you a multitude of blessings. So good I had to say it 3 times. So we appreciate you. We love our Caribbean listeners. You all are awesome. And Caribbean listeners, if you happen to have any questions for Lauren, let me know and I will get them to her, because I know you're not going to hear this till tomorrow, but maybe you have a question about her film or something else. I would love to answer it. Not me, she will. So I'll forward it to her. If you have any questions, just ask me via Instagram, at Dr._Tachi, and I will forward the question to her. All right. Now, without any further ado, and again, audience, if you have questions, feel free to ask her, because we're going to have a conversation, and that conversation includes you as well. So without any further ado, I want to bring up my former student, Lauren McGarrett. Here we go. Lauren, how are you?
I'm great. How are you, Dr. Egwu?
I am fantastic. It's so weird because now I don't have people really calling me Dr. Egwu so much anymore.
Oh, really?
Hear you say that. So, but if that's what you want to call me, that is fine. That is fine. Wow. So it's actually been quite some time since I've spoken to you, but I happened to be surfing your Facebook and saw that you have this wonderful project. And I said, oh, I have to have her on the show. She better not say no. So I'm glad that you said yes. I'm so glad that you said yes. So before we have you introduce yourself to the audience and we start our conversation, look who is here, Chris Edwards. What's up, Chris? It is so good to see you. Chris is one of the creators on my new network, which will be debuting soon, Indie Soup Media, the heart of the independent content creator. He has 2 shows that are going to be on the network, and I am so excited. So thank you for being here, Chris. It is wonderful to see you, and everybody else who is here and will be watching on the replay. Thank you so much for being here. So Lauren, let me stop talking and let you do the talking. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Sure. So my name is Lauren McGarrett. I am a filmmaker and video producer local to South Florida. I work in both narrative short films as well as documentaries, and I'm just really happy to be on this show.
Wow. Doesn't she have a fantastic smile? She just is such a sweet person.
Thank you.
Absolutely. So let's get into it. And folks, if you have any questions, please make sure. Let me see. We have some comments before we go. Dea is here, the Dominican princess herself. What's up, Dea? How are you? And Rashawn Vincent has joined us. Thank you so much for being here. Let me tell you, the support we get from the MediaScope Massive, from CQ, Club Quarantine with D Nice, which is how I know a lot of these people, and also TV channeling my podcast. Thank you all so much for being here. And TKBS. Kenny Burns, thank you so much. So let's get to it. Let's talk a little bit about your start. So how did you get started with film? Obviously, you're my student, or former. No, whatever. You're my student for life. So you were my former student. So how did you get started? What made you say film? Because as you know, at Nova Southeastern, we didn't really have a film program. So how did you get into it?
So I actually started filmmaking when I was a little kid, but I didn't really know I was filmmaking. I used to take my family's camcorder and like recreate skits from All That or Keenan and Kel with my siblings. And we just used to make those little videos, watch them with the family. And I didn't really think of it as something I could do for a career. It was just something I was doing for fun. And then when I got to Nova, I was kind of undecided on a major. I didn't really know where exactly I wanted to go. But I took an intro to print journalism class, and I learned about the communication studies major. And I thought maybe this is something that could fit for me. So I took a chance and I decided to sign up and volunteer for the newspaper. The thing is, I didn't actually put my name on the sign up list for the newspaper, but accidentally signed up for the school TV station. And I didn't even know the school had a TV station. So I showed up for the meetings. I learned a lot about how they run the station, how to film, how to edit. And through that, I kind of got a lot of like hands-on experience. Also through like Dr. Egwu's journalism class, some of the video production documentary classes they had at the school. But most of my learning was also like hands-on, just doing projects as well. And as I graduated from Nova, I networked with some other local filmmakers, and I started making more of my own short films, working on other people's sets and learning that way. And from there, I was submitting to a lot of like local and also national film festivals and just basically learning as I'm doing it.
Okay, so you're learning in a sense on the fly. Would you
Yeah.
say that you got more, not necessarily experience, but more knowledge from school or from what you actually did in the field?
I would definitely say I learned more on the field.
Mhm.
You know, as you mentioned, Nova didn't really have much of a film program. So there were a couple, hands-on classes, such as yours and a few others. And then everything else, like in terms of filmmaking, to supplement that came from like working on indie sets and also working on my own sets.
Fantastic. So let me ask you, what or who inspires you when it comes to film?
Um, I really like the work of Ava DuVernay. Also, my husband has really gotten me into like the filmmaking style of Robert Rodriguez and like the very independent style of just shooting with what you have, regardless of the budget. That's something I relate to a lot because I typically don't have a big budget on my films.
Wow. Okay. So when you say not a big budget, what do we mean?
Like no budget, pretty much like no budget. Yeah.
Okay, so well then how do you make anything if you have no budget? Because this is also supposed to be educational for the audience
Yeah.
to know, so you can see that it's possible to have a shoestring budget or not even a string and
Yeah.
make something. So what are some of the techniques that you use to be able to get work done even if you don't have a budget?
So for sure, networking with other filmmakers and people who are starting out or learning just like you, that's definitely a key to getting projects done with no budget because they are also looking for people to work on their films. They typically don't have budgets either. So, you help someone out on their project, they'll help you out on yours. Um, and that's pretty much like how I'm able to get by with that, especially like with some of the actors and crew I've worked with. I repeatedly work with them on several projects, so finding your tribe and just kind of like finding people that will work with your vision and you'll work with theirs.
So basically the system of bartering. So
Yes.
that's actually a good lesson, because often people that are starting out in other spaces will need help as well. So it's like, oh, okay, well, if you help me with this, I could possibly shoot this for you. So it's about bartering. It's,
Yeah.
I think sometimes, or wouldn't you say that sometimes people don't do things because they think it's going to cost so much money, but you just have to be creative with your quote financing. And the financing in this case is bartering.
Yeah, that's exactly it. Like you have to get creative on how you're going to produce your project and um like any means that you can to get it done. Like there's always a way that you can find to whether it's find someone to film your project or to act in it. There's always people looking for work and to, barter services.
So the science of spirituality of self is here. What's up, Ernest? How are you? My old friend from DC, and he's giving you a thumbs up and says that this is very interesting, and also asks if this is what's called grassroots in terms of filmmaking. I mean, I guess it could be called grassroots. What would you say, Lauren?
Um, I would say it could be considered grassroots. We are very independent, starting it, by ourselves pretty much.
Fantastic. So in terms of, so you and Ricardo is
Yeah.
your husband. At the time you weren't married, and I had no clue that you all got married until I said, wait, they got married.
Oh,
And this was like 4 years ago. So I had no clue. So you all have been kind of like a filmmaking team for a while.
yeah.
How does that work? Working with somebody, working with your spouse on this? Are there arguments? Is it difficult, or is it smooth sailing?
I would say it definitely helps a lot for having my spouse also be a filmmaker because he's a writer and I'm a director, so he'll write something, I'll produce it, I'll direct it, or he'll be my sound man, or I'll be his cinematographer. So it's kind of like I always have an extra team member whenever I need. I know, like with some people, they say that when two creative people get together, it's like a lot of like butting heads, but I think we work very well together.
That's awesome. So no arguments. Everything is pretty
I
copacetic.
mean, sometimes there are like creative disagreements on like the direction that like certain stories could take, but nothing too serious.
Makes sense. So tell me a one of the favorite stories that the two of you have worked on together so far.
So, in 2015, Ricky and I participated in the 48-hour film project for the first time, and
Okay.
we created this project called Foggy Sky. Um, and for those that don't know, the 48-hour film project is when you have to write, direct, shoot, edit the film in 48 hours. So on Friday, you have no idea what film you're making, and by Sunday evening, you have your completed film. And for that year, basically we got our genre, our character, and prop that was required to be in the project. And from there, we just wrote the entire night. And it was just a really fun process. It was a romance film. And I think to this day, it's one of our more memorable projects. Like whenever we talk with like our family, they're like, "Oh, when you're gonna go back to Foggy Sky? Like that's our favorite film." So that was just a really fun process in writing that film.
Absolutely, and I can see that that would be the case. So, for those of you who don't know, I think I've said this before, but I was a judge for the Miami competition of the 48-hour film festival for like 10 years and saw some amazing projects. And you get to see the same people over and over. So it's almost kind of like a family because the same people participate generally every year. And on top of that, especially here, we had a lot of people that would travel to compete because you can really compete in any city. So there would be people that got an Airbnb and would shoot, and there would be some great stuff. Now, have you all gone to Filmapalooza to see all of the films?
No, we have not yet.
Listen, I need you we get together and go to Filmapalooza. I haven't been in years. I think the last one I went to was the Atlanta one. So I went to LA and I went to Atlanta. Just amazing the level of projects that people competed. It's like when you win in your city and then you go see, you're like, wow, I need to step it up. Especially, let me tell you who does a stellar job every year. Paris, always, of course, and South Korea.
Oh wow.
Always. South Korea is like that you already know. And I just got finished talking about Squid Game on IG.
Oh yeah.
So they really produce some stellar work in South Korea. And of course, France, they are the progenitors of film. So it makes sense. I'd
Mhm.
be mad if you didn't do a good job, to be honest. So, folks, so let me take a minute to welcome everybody in. Welcome in. If you are just getting here, you are here and in for a treat. This is MediaScope, all things media, tech, and pop culture. We're here every week, 6 p.m. Eastern Time. We do a pre show at 5-ish on Instagram, which is always a lot of fun. Today, we happen to have a great guest, Lauren McGarrett, who was my former student, but more importantly, she is currently a filmmaker. Who am I? Let me tell you, my name is Tachi, media professor, filmmaker, media content producer, also a journalist. And hey, YouTube, if you're over there, you're already over there, like and subscribe. We'd love to have you do that. All right. And guess what? My network is debuting soon. We're getting closer and closer and closer, and I'm excited. And you know what? Since I'm talking about it, let's do a little bit of the splash page, and here we go. All right. Well, that's our little splash intro for Indie Soup Media, the heart of the independent content creator. I'll let you all know when we are going to debut, and it's going to be soon. So I'm excited, and I'm even more excited to have Lauren McGarrett with me today. She is a filmmaker emanating from South Florida, and she has a new film that is out called My Father's Yard. And we actually are going to talk about that right now. Wait a minute, let's bring you back. All right. So, Lauren, let's talk a little bit about the film. tell me, hold on, I think we may have some questions first. We've got two regulars here. The Food Plane, who is over on the YouTube side, says, hello, Dr. Tachi and fellow media scopers. You missed the hug. Nice shirt. Well, that's all right. I didn't give it. So since Lauren is on screen, I'm going to give you all the hug to let you know I appreciate you being here. So there you go, DS. You got the hug. You got the hug. And the queen of food truckery and minister of libation, Serena Wills, is here, says, beep, beep, who's got the keys to the food truck? She does. I know we've got some specials. She's stopping by before she has to teach class, so she's dropping off snacks from the MediaScope food truck. We've got a whole bunch of stuff, so grab it while it's hot, ladies and gentlemen. And you felt that good. I'm glad you did. So thank you so much for being here. Our guest today, as I said, is Lauren McGarrett, and we are talking her new film. And I think I was able to, let's see if I can play. I pulled it from your Facebook, the little intro. So we'll see if we can play that. But let's start talking about that first. Tell us a little bit about My Father's Yaad.
So My Father's Yaad is a short documentary film, and it basically follows me on my first trip to Kingston, Jamaica, as I attend my grandfather's funeral. And basically the unexpected journey that I embark on when I attend the funeral, and also discover that my family has ancestral land that I didn't even know existed. So the film is pretty much about family discovery.
Wow. So tell us some things that you discovered.
So I learned a lot about my own family history. So a little backstory, I grew up in South Florida, and both my parents are Jamaican immigrants. But because of like some issues with immigration and also some financial issues that we had been dealing with growing up, I never traveled to Jamaica until I was an adult. And I never got to meet either of my grandparents. So by the time I was in my 20s, I only had one living grandparent. And that was like in the age of like video calls and Zoom. So then I figured, okay, well, let's set up a Zoom call so I can finally meet my grandfather. So I did that with my dad. And it was just great to finally meet him. He's a World War II veteran. And just speaking with him, like, I just felt like such a great sense of connection to him, something that like I had never been able to feel or have before. And unfortunately, I only got to talk to him that one time because a few months later, he ended up passing away. And when my father said he was going to go down for the funeral, I realized that I had to join him. Like I had to learn about my family, and, you know, meet members that I had never even met before, because I have like aunts and cousins that live on the island that I've never met. And it just seemed like an opportunity that I had to take.
That makes perfect sense. And it's difficult when you are like a child of immigrants and you basically have never, had you gone to Jamaica before this, or that was your first time going to Jamaica?
So it was not my first time. It was actually my second, but my first time, it wasn't like a full trip. So for my honeymoon, we went on a cruise, and one of the stops was in Jamaica. And at that time, like my aunt and uncle and some of my cousins came to the port to meet us. So we hung out for the day. And that was my only experience in Jamaica prior to that.
Wow. So prior to that, you had never been to Jamaica.
Yeah, that was my first time.
So what did that feel like?
It was definitely well, it was very heartwarming for me, but also kind of overwhelming because it felt like I was having to play catch up on things that I feel like I should have known my entire life, if that makes sense. Because I know, you know, generally, like in American culture, a lot of people grow up with knowing their grandparents, knowing their cousins, their aunts and uncles and everything. But for me, it's always been just my immediate family. So even now, I kind of still struggle with that lack of connection to my extended family.
Wow. And are you working on that now that you've done this film? Does it feel like you have a better connection?
I feel like it's growing. I definitely have been talking to my cousins a lot more since going to Jamaica and meeting them and like meeting my aunts and uncles as well. Like I feel like there has been a bridge created with that.
Fantastic, fantastic. So let's go ahead. We DS, our the food plane has some questions for you, but first let's say hello to D Carpio. D is a dedicated MediaScope massive member, so we're happy to have you. And the food plane says he also never met his grandparents. So and I think that's the case for me. I met one because like all my grandparents were like, it's weird because I'm African. They were born like in the 1800s.
Oh,
So I like, except for, so my grandfathers at the time, it was like they would have many wives. So they could be like 80 something and still have younger wives.
oh.
So consequently, I only got to meet my mother's mother. So I do understand. And Sarita's putting up the prayer sign. And so DS asks you this: what do you enjoy the most about filmmaking?
I would say the thing I enjoy the most is just creating a totally new story, because you're making something that doesn't exist. Like you're coming up with an idea in your mind and then you're bringing it into reality. I think that whole concept is what I enjoy most about creating films.
That's awesome. And then let's put this up. What is your favorite film?
So I don't necessarily have one that's like my favorite. I do really enjoy Memoirs of a Geisha, dramatic films like that, and then also like feel good films like The Princess Diaries. Um, so I think like in my own filmmaking, I tend to want to like balance out like dramatic storytelling and also like feel good stories.
That makes sense. Absolutely. So, have you done any narrative? Well, you have because the 48-hour film festival
Yeah.
project. But outside of that, where it was narrative, is documentary more your thing, or are you more of a narrative film person?
So I'm definitely more of a narrative film person. This is actually
Okay.
my first documentary.
Really? Okay.
Yeah, like I've done a lot of like behind the scenes, like shorts and like promo videos with like interviews and everything, but they weren't like actual documentaries. But so
Okay.
this is like
Okay.
my first actual like venture into the documentary world.
Ah, okay. Well, let's in honor of your Jamaican heritage, the food truck has a special for you. In case you didn't know, we have a food truck. Imaginary as it may be, it's very real to us. So we have specials and we eat and all of that. So we've got a Jamaican food special: curry jerk and salmon, chicken and goat with rice and peas and plantain, with a
Oh,
side of
sounds
cola
delicious.
champagne or refreshing carrot juice. Now I know Caribbean people say plantain, but Africans say plantain. So, so plantain, but you can say plantain if you want. Folks, if you are just joining us, I am so privileged to have the wonderful Lauren McGarrett here, who is a filmmaker. And she also, I mean, you write a little bit as
Yeah.
well. So she's a writer and a filmmaker, and she has a new documentary that is out that actually not debuted, but made its television debut on the 19th, called My Father's Yaad. So let's talk a little bit about that. I think, let's see. Oh, here we go. And the food plane said, yes, that was a great movie. A Princess Bride or all of them? Let me know which one you're talking about. And he asked, are you involved in the editing process?
Yes, I am very involved in the editing process. That's actually one of my favorite parts of filmmaking. Aside from just overall creating the film, I would say like in the production process, I love taking all of the puzzle pieces from the shoot and putting everything together. So I do edit all of my films.
Wow. Okay. So is you edit? Do you have other people that are also editing, or are you so close to the film that you feel you would be the best person to edit?
I definitely feel like I would be the best person to edit my films because when I'm filming, I already have the idea of how I want the final product to look. So I'm shooting for the edit. And since I
Ah,
already
okay.
kind of know what I have and what I don't have, I already have the idea of what I want to put together.
Makes sense. And Food Plane was talking about Memoirs of a Geisha. Yeah, no, great, great film. Definitely. Yeah, no, I knew what you meant. And D Carpio says, yum. I'm saying that, listen, they're giving me ideas. That might have to be what I eat tonight. If I could, I'll have to get with you because I don't know Jamaican spots here, which is terrible to say. But I don't know what's good.
Oh,
That's
I would say definitely try Aunt Eyes in Pembroke Pines. They have really good Jamaican food.
Now, I'm not going to Pembroke Pines. I'm in Fort Lauderdale. I need something close. But that's good to know if I happen to be down Pembroke Pines way. What else?
Um, the Dutch pot is always good. I know there are a few Dutch pot restaurants around.
Yeah, I've
And
had the Dutch pot. It's pretty good. Yeah.
yeah, and for patties, definitely Golden Crust.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
mean, Golden, as a New Yorker, obviously, Golden Crust. Yeah, I mean, they should just be a patty shop, if you ask me, but nobody did. So, anyway, let's keep going. I want to ask you about getting your film or film. Now, is this the first? I know you said that this film, My Father's Yacht, has been in a few film festivals. Is that your first film that has been in a festival?
No, I've had a few in like several different festivals. I actually went to the Michaud Film Festival in Los Angeles
Oh,
earlier this year
wow.
for
Wow.
for a comedy film that I shot earlier in the year.
Really? Really? Tell us about that film. But before I ask you that, let me let you all know that I'm excited because I'm a huge Oscar Michaud enthusiast. So for those of you who don't know, Oscar Michaud was an African American filmmaker who made silent films. So really one of his films was, and I can't remember the name of it right now, but it was like a direct response to D.W. Griffith's Birth of a Nation. And that really, Birth of a Nation was responsible for the extreme rise of the KKK. And so in response to that, he made this other film, and I can't remember the name of it now, but it just really addressed everything. And when people think about silent film and the father of American film, nobody really mentions Oscar Michaud. So I'm excited that you went to the Michaud Film Festival. So now with that, how was that? What was that like for you?
It
And
was
what
definitely
film? Tell us about the film as well. Sorry.
yeah, it was definitely a great experience to go. It was the biggest festival I've been a part of thus far. The film is called Mr. Black's Uncorroborated Guide to Career Success. It's a comedy, a coming of age comedy. It follows a reserved millennial as he tries to navigate the job market, and he finds himself working for a pyramid scheme, knocking door to door to sell tea. And one day he knocks on the door of his bitter old neighbor, Mr. Black. And Mr. Black is a retired campaign manager. And he believes that the problem that the main character is dealing with is just as a result of his quiet nature. That's why he hasn't been able to find his dream job. So Mr. Black takes it upon himself to take Theo, that's the main character, under his wing and train him for what he believes will make him the best candidate for whatever his dream job may be. The problem is that Mr. Black is actually extremely out of touch with modern day society, so his advice is not exactly sound.
Okay. Wow. So how was it received?
It was received really well. Like people definitely laughed in the parts that I wanted them to laugh, and also laughed at parts that I didn't even expect them to. Like, I think that's a great thing of seeing your film in a theater with an audience is you see like how people react to certain things, and sometimes they react ways that you don't expect.
And comedy is hard.
Yeah.
So the fact that you got laughs is awesome. So let me look over here at my iPad so that I could say hello to the people over on my personal Facebook page. Cheryl Ferguson is here. Hello, Cheryl. It is fantastic to see you. Also, Dominic Damaski. Hello, Dom, who does a fantastic show on Clubhouse. He and Dom and Tom, they do Not the Smartest Guys in the Room. If you ever have some time on a Wednesday morning at 9:30 a.m., join us for Not the Smartest Guys in the Room. To me, they are the smartest guys in the room. And we talk about a lot of different things with podcasting, publishing, production, media, filmmaking, all of that. So so join us if you can. So did I get everybody? I think I did. So hello to Cheryl and to Dom. Hello, hello, hello. All right, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to interrupt you.
No, it's okay.
So that's awesome. I'm glad that happened. What are you going to do with, and then we're going to get back to the new film. What are you going to do with that film now? Is it still running the festival circuit? Are you shopping it around? What are you doing?
So that particular film, it most recently screened at a local festival called the Arts Accelerator Film Festival. And it actually got in the top 5 of that fest. And what they're doing with the top 5 films is they're creating one large like compilation feature film of South Florida filmmakers. And then they're going to distribute that feature film. So that's where it's going currently. I haven't gotten the full details on it. I think they're still putting it all together. But yeah, that's where it was most recently.
That's amazing. That's amazing. And I definitely want to talk to you after this about possibly getting some of your work on the network. And let's say hello to Terry Nixon. She says hello to me and to you, Lauren. And also, the Food Plane has another question for you. Have you had any challenges in your filmmaking, and how did you get through?
So I've definitely had quite a few challenges, as I mentioned earlier, with the issue of having no budget. I know I said definitely leaning on the aspect of bartering services, but that's easier said than done. That's definitely the most challenging thing that I have to deal with, especially with getting locations. Because sometimes you can offer someone like, hey, I'll do a video for your restaurant if you allow me to film here. But like people don't always go for that. And sometimes people will say like, oh, I'll let you film here, but it'll be $3,000. So that's definitely something that I still deal with working with no budget, is just finding the resources that I need. And I do end up finding them. It just takes much longer than if I did have the money to actually pursue those things.
Absolutely. And sooner than later, you will have the budget to be able to do those things. And speaking of budget, I mean, obviously, when we talk about film and video and all of that, it can be, you could do things on a shoestring budget, but if we're talking about at astronomical levels, it can get to be very expensive, right? So what are your future plans in terms of getting to that point where you have the budget to do what you want?
I'm definitely applying to like more filmmaking grants. I'm learning about crowdfunding as well. Just trying to find different ways that I can actually fund my projects. I definitely don't want to continue doing no budget films. Even last year, I made like a promise to myself, like I'm not going to do another film for no budget. I want to pay my crew and my actors. I don't want to keep having people come out for free. But then when I did that, I ended up not having a film because I still didn't have the budget. So that's why I ended up actually making the Mr. Black film earlier this year, because I was just tired of not having a new film. So I made that one, and then it ended up getting into all of these festivals. So, it's kind of like a little bit of a trade-off. Like you can try to build up your budget and everything, but at the end of the day, if you're waiting on that, you might end up not having any projects at all. But I'm definitely still working towards building, my fundings.
And so that's great. I don't know if you think this, but I sometimes think this, that people use Hollywood or commercial film industries as the standard of what everybody should be paid in across the board. And I agree. I think that people should be paid when they're doing things. But I think sometimes people will see the huge budget things and then think that that is the standard across the board. All we have to do is look at the fact with SAG-AFTRA that the majority, 80% plus, make less than $26,000 per year, which is the threshold that you need to be eligible for health insurance through SAG. So that lets you know that, at least for actors, they're not making very much. Not everybody, but a lot of them, majority, are not making very much. But I think that there's also an unrealistic expectation of what should be. Like, some people think, oh, it needs to be XYZ. Well, where's the money going to come from? So I don't know if you feel that sometimes there's an unrealistic expectation for that people should be paid millions for this, because it simply does not happen. I don't know what your thoughts are.
I think there definitely can be that expectation sometimes. I do believe that like it should all be relative to the budget of the film. Like, you know, you're not going to get paid millions if the film only has a $10,000 budget versus like, you know, if something's made for 40 million and yet you have these actors who are not being paid fairly, you know, that's a different story. So I think it's all very relative.
Absolutely. Relative to the budget of the film. Remember that, the budget of the film, folks. And DS asks, is there any advice that you would give to people beginning in film?
I would say just to get started. Like, if you haven't done a short film before, even if it's like, you know, just you in the film or your best friend or whoever you can, you know, get to be your actor. There are many films that have only like one character in it. Anything that you can do just to get that experience down of creating something, because that will be your best you know, lesson, is actually doing it, learning from your mistakes, and then doing it again.
Makes sense. And Serena had to head off to keep teach, but she says, keep doing great things, Lauren.
Thank you.
Absolutely. And Spirituality of Self says, do or can people donate to low budget films? Yours specifically, and them in general, I would ask.
Yes, definitely. I will be setting up crowdfunding for my latest upcoming project. And I think generally to contribute to low budget films, like you can always go on like Kickstarter or GoFundMe. A lot of websites like that have a lot of opportunities for you to donate to upcoming independent films.
Right. And generally with the crowdfunding, there's usually something that the filmmaker offers to people that are donating. So it could be, if you donate at this level, then you get an XYZ t-shirt. You get a walk-on role for the film, you know, depending on what it is. So you make it attractive so that people want to donate to your film. That's the way crowdfunding works. So definitely let us know when you set that up so that I can put the word out there.
Okay.
And thank you for that question. So let me see if I can play. Let's talk a little bit more about the In My Father's Yard. Let me see if I can play this. So hold on a minute. Let me present. Now, I don't know how good this is going to look. Hold on. Give us a second, folks. Share the screen. Here we go. Time player, share. Oh, hold on a second. Why is it not? No. All right. For some reason, it lost permission to share the screen. And I'm suspecting it's because I did an update to the new operating system for my MacBook Pro.
Oh.
Yeah. So I'll keep trying to work on it, but I do have the thing that I snatched from your Facebook. So I'll keep working on it. So in the meantime, folks, if you are just joining us, look who I have here with me. Her name is Lauren McGarrett, and she is a writer and filmmaker from South Florida. And she has a new film out called in my father's yard. And what I want to talk about now is the process. We'll talk about TV, but let's talk about the process of getting your film into a film festival. How did you do it?
So, with getting your film into a film festival, you really have to think about what type of festival are you looking to get into, because some festivals are not looking for the same things as others. So, for my father's yard, I was searching for ones that are really looking for short documentary films, family focused films, also ones created by Black directors or people of color or women directors. There are a lot of niche subjects that you can find film festivals based around. And once you have your film created, you have to really think about where you believe it will fit best. And that's your best opportunity to get it accepted somewhere, because you know that they'll be looking for those films.
Fantastic. And what about we're talking about budget? That's something that you have to budget for as well, because most film festivals do have a price, right? to submit. So when you are budgeting, when you're talking about that, you should also include, this is for anybody who's looking to submit, also include the cost of submitting the film to festivals in that, because before you know it, you're like, wait, I spent $500 submitting to film festivals, and they're not cheap. So how do you find these film festivals? I know there are a couple of different databases you could find, but how do you find the film festivals to submit to?
For the most part, I find them through the Film Freeway website. They do have a lot of filters that you can put in if you're looking for women-focused festivals, or ones for new filmmakers, or new film festivals, or, you can really narrow down the entire list. And I think every major festival now has a Film Freeway page that you can submit through. So that's definitely a great resource that you can use. Otherwise, I tend to find them through word of mouth from other fellow filmmakers. That's another important part that comes from networking and getting to know other creatives in your area, because you'll hear about other opportunities that may exist that you probably wouldn't hear from otherwise.
Absolutely. So networking is critically important, you would say, in film success.
For sure.
Absolutely. Well, guess what? I was able to get this film up. So what we're going to do is take not the whole film, the little snippet that she had on Facebook. If it's poor quality, I apologize. I ripped it from Facebook. So we're going to take a look at this from my father's yard, the little trailer, I guess, for it. Here we go.
Yaad means home. Usually used by people that live overseas. And when they talk about making a trip home, they use the word yaad.
At 27 years old, I met my grandfather face to face for the first time.
Grandpa is here now, you see him?
Nice to meet you finally.
How are you?
Good, how are you?
How are you feeling?
A little bit better,
So, Dad, who do you think she looks like?
It looks more like Merle, or most like Merle. I think it's mostly Merle.
When do you want to do this again?
We can WhatsApp the next meeting.
Good night. Nice to meet you.
Bye.
There wouldn't be a next meeting, because on November 28th, 2020, my grandfather, a World War II Royal Air Force veteran, would pass away at the age of 94. Growing up as a first-generation American in South Florida, my family always felt very small. Through a combination of financial and immigration struggles, I never met most of my extended family living in Jamaica, including my grandparents. Which was all the more reason for me to accompany my dad on what would be only his second trip back in over 30 years. I wasn't sure of exactly what to expect. So I'm on my way to the airport now to go to Jamaica. So it should be a totally new experience for me, and I'm pretty nervous about it.
That's the first place we lived on the Cape of Kingston. Yeah.
Boss Lady HQ.
Just what's on here?
No.
Between meeting relatives, seeing historical landmarks, and visiting ancestral land, I never could have imagined all of the things that would unfold when I arrived.
Yaad is back in Jamaica.
Well, so it's not actually coming soon, it's here. And let me say hello to Dr. Ebony over on the Facebook, my personal Facebook side. Hello, Dr. Ebony. Thank you so much for being here. The Science of Spirituality of Self says, I love it already. Anything with nature and family sets a beautiful standard. Absolutely. And it just gives a heart, like I watched it. I was like, oh wow, this is so wonderful. It just feels like something you want to see because people get invested in stories. Have you gotten comments from people saying that this is like their story, or it feels like you're telling their story?
Not quite yet. I haven't heard like anything like personal to that effect, but I am very surprised at like the response that I've received from posting this trailer. So initially, when I filmed this documentary, I actually didn't even set out to create a film from this. I was just filming because it was my first real actual trip to Jamaica, and I just wanted to have the footage to keep. But then I did a little documentary fellowship with the Firelight program, and I kind of learned that maybe, you know, I could make an actual story from this. But the thing that was holding me back was that I felt like, you know, who is going to relate to this outside of people in my family? Like, will people watch this and, you know, feel connected to it? Or will it just be, you know, well, you know, what's this girl even talking about? So that kind of held me back for a while with actually creating and putting out the documentary. But I figured I might as well try. So I edited everything together. I filmed my own interview and cut it into the film. And then I started submitting to festivals and also kind of getting feedback on it. And, you know, even now, like, I'm still really surprised that people have an interest in it, because initially I felt like this wasn't something that people who don't know my family would be interested in.
Well, you know, and I can see how you would say that, but the thing is, your story is the story of so many people. Like, I didn't actually, and actually for me, Nigeria is a lot farther than Jamaica is for you in South Florida. So I went when I was a baby, but then I didn't go again until I was in college. So it's that same type of homecoming thing. And it's, you know, a lot of people have that same homecoming, even, you know, for people that may not be directly, you know, African Americans going to visit Africa, for example, for the first time. There's that sense of homecoming. So definitely people would identify with it. And I'm so glad that you put it out there. And so are other people, because Terry Nixon is clapping and she said she loves it. And Arlesia Mays, hey, how are you? She also loves this as well. And let's see. Yeah, everybody over here on the Facebook side is loving it as well. So thank you for being over here, Facebook. Thank you. Wow. Okay. So we have just a little bit of time left. And so what I want to talk about now is this film actually made its television debut on the 19th. And obviously, this is not the full version. Oh, this one here. This was just, you know, a trailer. So how long is the full version, first of all?
The full film is 25 minutes.
Okay, 25 minutes. That's quite lengthy. That's
Yeah.
that's a like a half-hour television program. That's
Yeah.
cool. So speaking of which, so how did you get that? How did you get your film on Aspire TV? And for those of you who don't know, I don't know if Magic Johnston still has a stake in Aspire, but I know that he was one of the founders and he still may. But Aspire TV is a television station that really has interest in African American life and culture, and it's a pretty big deal. So how did that happen?
So a little backstory to that is I'm also involved in this program called Black Girls Film Camp, and they basically focus on mentoring high school Black girls across the country on filmmaking. And throughout the camp, they learn like the writing process, the filming, and at the end, they have their own short film. So I've been involved with them for about 4 years now. And through that, you get to meet a network of like a lot of other great female Black filmmakers. And one day, one of them reached out in a mass email and said, "Hey, we have this connection to Aspire TV. They have this program called the Urban Indie Film Block, and they're looking for content. So if you have a film or know someone who has a film, please submit it, and we'll see, who gets accepted and if we can put some more content on this channel." So I figured, I'd submit the documentary because it was one of the films that I had completed at the time. So might as well. I didn't really know if it would get accepted or not. And then later on, like in October of this year, I found out that it had been accepted. And I was just really excited that it was going to debut on television.
Wow, that is absolutely amazing. So, what was so have you heard any reception to it since it's been on television?
I've heard mainly like reception from my cousins and friends and
Okay.
everyone that I told about. Not really from people that I don't know, but I know that like those that I know that have seen it have really enjoyed it. It also did screen locally at the Fort Lauderdale Film Festival
Oh,
last year, not the one this year, but the previous one.
okay.
And it did get a really good reception at that festival as well.
Wonderful, wonderful. Great. So what now for this film? Are they planning it's debuted on TV. Are they planning to do anything else with it, or where does it go from here?
So I know with the Urban Indie Film Block, it's not quite yet on their streaming networks, but I believe there is a plan to get it up on streaming, so that people can rewatch it. I'll let you know once I have the details for that.
Please do, because then I'll put it on my pages so that people can and underneath the video so that people can watch it. Wonderful, wonderful. All right. Well, Kerwin is here. What's up, Kerwin? And says, "Don't let your inner self hold you back." We, meaning us over here, have something that resonates within. Absolutely. So we're glad that you didn't hold yourself back and you put that out there. So let's talk about what's next. What's next for you, for Lauren, the filmmaker?
So I have done a lot of short films. This is my first documentary short, but I've also done a lot of narrative. I think I've done like 13 short films. And I really want to try my hand at making a feature film. So I think that's the next big thing that's up for me, is starting and creating my first feature film.
That is quite ambitious, but I know you can do it. Are you thinking about expanding this one at all, or doing a part 2 with the My Father's Yard?
I've thought about it. I think that more so has to happen a little bit more organically, like when my family is ready for those things and like when there is a true update to it. Because as of right now, there hasn't been much of an update in regards to the ancestral land and how we leave it at the end of that film. So I think once things progress, maybe like I might follow up on that.
Okay. Okay. Wonderful. Well, let us know, because we're definitely interested in everything that you have to say. Let's see. Did I get all of these questions? Oh, the food plane basically said this, like when you were talking about before about film, and it's like when he sees a person's reaction when they taste the food. I still haven't tasted this food, DS. I need to partake. Maybe it will happen when I come up to New York. So it's going to have to be a New York thing, I'm sure, but I can't wait to do that. So let's end it with this. We have like just about a minute left. Is there anything that you can leave the audience with in terms of getting content out there, whether it's a film or whether it's like social media content? What can you leave them with in terms of how to proceed?
I think the biggest thing is just getting started. My own personal thing is that like I still face a lot of insecurity within myself. Even with this documentary, as I said, I was worried, that no one was going to relate to it. So I think just getting over that and just getting started and creating your content, that's like the biggest step to it. And once you have it, then you can post on social media or submit to film festivals or whatever the project is. But I would definitely say just getting started with your project is the biggest thing that you need to do.
Great advice. And how can people contact you if they're interested in seeing more of your films, talking with you directly? What's the best way to contact you?
Sure. So people can contact me through Instagram. My Instagram is at a film by Lau, AFILMBYLAU. And that's my handle on Instagram and Twitter as well, and TikTok. And then I also have a Facebook page, which is just Lauren McGarrett. So all of those are just ways that you can get in contact with me.
And I should have asked you that earlier so that I could have that up on the screen, but we can actually do that really quickly right now. So it's at a film by LAU.
Yes.
Okay. And like this?
Yeah, exactly.
All right. So that's how you can contact Lauren, a film by Lau. She is one to watch. Lady, I'm putting it out there and I'm calling it. She is one to watch. You're going to see Lauren doing some big things, or as they say in Jamaica, big things very soon. She's already doing great things and I'm just looking for more. So Lauren, thank you, thank you, thank you. And I have to put this out there. It's like my students from Nova Southeastern University never disappointed me. All of you who are out there for the communication program doing things, you're doing your thing. I am so proud of you. And because I always tell you all, if you get out there and act like an orangutan, don't tell anybody I taught you. And so far, I haven't had to tell anybody that. It's like, don't tell people I taught you. I'm very proud. So please tell people I taught you because I'm very proud of you.
Thank you.
So thank you so much. I want you to stay on really quickly after because I have a question to ask you. But for folks, for the rest of you all, let's see if we have some last questions. Yes, a film by Lau. Exactly. That is it. And Ernest says good luck and Godspeed to you. Definitely. And yeah, that is it. Thank you so much, everybody, for watching. You know, it's because of you that I do this. So I appreciate every single one of you in the MediaScope Massive that comes here every week and hangs out. And thank you for giving Lauren such a warm MediaScope Massive reception. And I end like this usually. I love you for watching. I bid you adieu. You guys, myself, Lauren, and all of this great info, we're about to exit stage left. So hopefully we will see. Yeah, no, I'm back on next week. The holiday is getting close. so we take a break usually during the holiday, but we have some more weeks of great content for you. So stay tuned. We'll see you next week. Cheers.
Close the doors, walk across the corridor. We got something to show you. Media is our repertoire. Fed with the same news, no channel to use. Cruise control mentalities. Here we offer you. We can show you.